We are going to get you hooked and keep you hooked with this episode today. Welcome inside another edition of the Stampede, a podcast on the Texas Longhorns alongside Mack Brown and Vince Young. I'm Bob Ballou. We appreciate you joining us. You can always rate and review us anywhere on social media at the Stampede UT, and you can find us anywhere you get your podcast. You get this podcast on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you want to see it or watch it, you can do it. You'll find us there. We have a great show today. Coach Brown was at practice. He's going to give us a few guys to look for in the spring game. We're going to talk a little bit about what the spring game Fun Fest Day is going to look like for Texas this year. Later in the show, we're going to break down Ethan Burke and what his draft prospects looks like. And Vince loves talking about these guys. He's had a few conversations with them, so that's going to be fun. But we have a very special guest on the show today. You know him for a lot of different things. It's Cooper Manning. Cooper Manning joins the show in just a little bit. We're very excited to get Cooper on.
Cool. Yeah, Cooper's special. Coop. What a great dad. What a great husband. And he is just so special. I can't wait for Texas fans to get to know the Cooper that we know.
Yeah.
And let's we're going to peel the onion back. We're going to look behind the scenes and see what the dad and the mom are really like that are sitting up in those stands all anxious about that young quarterback when he's been the brother of Super Bowl winning quarterbacks and one of the best to ever play in his dad. And it's just, it's the first family of football. And I just, my life's so much better because I'm a friend of the Mannings.
I love watching him in any of these situations. If you watch him at a game, he's in the stands just acting like a dad. Sometimes he's going crazy. Sometimes he's like anxious about what's going on. And then you see him on, he has got a podcast. He's got a show in the pregame for Fox on the NFL called The Manning Hour, and they put up, it says The Manning Hour minus 58 minutes. Yeah. So you know it's only a 2-minute segment. Like also, he's hilarious.
And it is, and to piggyback off what Coach Brown said, to the type of character and respect person he is. I mean, when Arch was going through that stuff, the way that myself and Coach McCoy, we had his back and making sure and taking care of him like we're supposed to do as quarterbacks. And I see us a Baton Rouge number calling my phone. I'm like, who the hell is calling me from? And it's Coop, and he's calling just to say thank you for, your kind words and things on the sideline, hanging out with Arch and things like that. So it's just to show what type of family and what type of character and type of person he is. So, that's pretty great to know that he's a guy that's all about class and respect. So, and that's a great thing to know.
It's going to be a lot of fun, like you said, to kind of peel the curtain back on what it's been like being the dad of Arch and how that's gone for him at Texas the last few years. So we'll get into all that in just a few minutes. But first, we do want to talk about what's coming up this week. It's the spring game, whatever you want to technically call it, Texas Football Fan Fest. It's a great opportunity for fans for a lot of different reasons. Obviously, everybody wants to see the football, but you're going to get a chance to get autographs from the players, take a picture with Sark, some of the cheerleaders, the band, all that kind of stuff is going to be going on. Yeah. It's a fan fest, so there's going to be all kinds of stuff going on before the game. You've got Bevo and Smokey the Cannon. Texas open practice will begin at 11. Coach, you were at practice. You've had the opportunity to see a little bit of the guys. I think all of us that really follow Texas football closely are excited to see what these guys look like. 43 new faces. It's a lot of people, which is part of the reason that I think Sark doesn't necessarily want a full-on spring game. But he talked about that this week. He said, the offensive line, the defensive line, like kind of getting those guys in good numbers. We don't want to risk all that stuff, and we're not quite there, so we don't have a full-on scrimmage, but you'll see some good on good. You were at practice. Who are you most excited to see?
Yes, and I totally understand why Sark would want to have a practice. You got 43 new guys.
Yeah.
You're still trying to figure out who your leaders are, who your team is. You got some guys, you want some work. And in a spring game, you really can't do anything because it's on TV and everybody's watching. Everybody you play is tape. I used to sit and watch every spring game. I'd have a copy of it. I'd taken my notes on who's where, knowing that they can't use plays they're going to use against us, but players. And then you try to figure out where they were. And then you hope you always took a deep breath when you got them out of the game because at least they're going to be healthy probably until the start of fall practice.
Sure.
But it's a really good-looking team. If I'm a fan on Saturday for the fan day, what I do, I'm going to pick out players. Who haven't I seen before? You read these things on the internet. You read them in the paper. You hear about them on the radio. But who are they? You get to see them. So I was just thinking today, there's a linebacker, Justin Cryer, number 28, transferred from Florida State. There's another linebacker that's Rasheem Biles,
Yep. Number
number
three,
number
right?
th- number two, number three.
Three.
Number three, came in from Pittsburgh. Well, we know enough about Ty Anthony Smith, so why put him out there and let's watch him for 3 hours? Let's study those two and see how they're doing. Then I thought the Bo Mascow
Yeah.
from
Rutgers.
Rutgers.
Yeah, really. He's gotten a lot of praise
They're
this spring.
they're really talking about him being a great cover guy. He's number 5 at corner. Watch him, study him. Those 3 running backs all look good. I'm telling you now, Derek Cooper's a man. I saw that big number 5, and I said, "Who is that?" And they said, "That's that freshman, man." I said, "Well, he may be a 32-year-old freshman because he is a good-looking sucker." The new receivers are so good and tall. Emmett Mosley's going to have 2 giants on each side of him, and just watching Cam Cameron run, the man can run. He's really good. Watch the new offensive lineman. You're looking at Siani, who came in from Wake
Alvin Sani,
Forest,
yeah.
and looking at him. They moved Baker into guard. Watch him and see what you think. Seymour is not going to be here till the summer, so he won't be around. And I was really impressed with the kickers and the punters. Those guys can boom it now. They were kicking field goals from way back. So that's what I would do. I would go to look at the structure of the practice. There'll be some scrimmaging, but you get to see a lot more individual stuff when you're at a practice, as Vince knows, than you would a scrimmage. A scrimmage, you're going to see the highlighted players. And then some walk-ons usually going to come in and have a great scrimmage in the spring game, and everybody says, "Oh my God, he's great," and then he'll never play again. So that's just what happens in the spring game. But this gives you an opportunity to watch each individual player and figure out where you think he will be when you get ready to go watch that Ohio State game in the second week.
We always talked. If I'm going to try to throw some names, and you tell me if you. I mean, I think Patrick McNamara, Deshaun Hales,
Yes.
Heath Homan.
Yes.
There were some guys that had some really big spring games.
Yes.
In those second halves.
You'd
And it
always
was-
see that long run when nobody was in there, and everybody say, "Oh my God, this guy!" And I'd say, "Oh my God, there it goes."
But to your point on the wide receivers, I think with Cam Coleman, everybody's excited to see him. We've seen Ryan Wingo. It's gonna be fun to see those guys. But like a guy like Sterling Burkhalter, comes in from Wake Forest. Great example of a guy that I think Sark has seen really progress throughout the spring, and he's talked a lot about. This is a guy that we can trust. Like we believe in him. How about a freshman like a Jermaine Bishop or somebody like that? That if you know this roster deep, you go into that game saying, "I want to see these guys. I want to see Smoke Matthews. I want to see Tyler Atkinson at linebacker." Like
Absolutely.
those freshmen some of those freshmen are gonna make an impact the same way Colin Simmons did, the same way Anthony Hill did. We're gonna get to see a lot of that, and that'll be fun too.
Yeah, and when freshmen come in January, they have a chance to be like a sophomore by August. They can play.
Yeah.
They've already been here for an off season, a spring semester, a spring practice, OTAs in the summer, so they get coached a lot. And I saw the other 2 receivers too. They look really good, and I got to speak to Cam and to Ryan together. I looked about 5 foot tall, standing between the 2 there, and I thought, this is really cool for your quarterback. When Arch is looking eye to eye with those 2 guys, it's impressive. And Cam made a Roy Williams catch behind his back, way down in the corner. That was just an unbelievable play. So it's going to be fun to watch those new skill guys. Some new tight ends too that came in and could run. I was impressed with their play, but really looking good. And Smoke Matthews, they've talked a lot about his maturity and his length for a freshman corner coming in. So that's what I would do. I'm going to spend my time not judging coaches and not talking about game plans. There won't be any of that. I'm going to spend my time looking at players.
And that's from a coach's perspective in what you'd like to see the fans do. Vince, from a player's perspective, I know you loved the spring game. I know you loved the opportunity to get in front of fans. Why did you love it so much?
Well, it was an opportunity for us to say thank you because, once the season and school start, we don't have an opportunity to do that. Especially from my position, I'm getting pulled in all kind of directions from media. I got to take care of my body. I'm in the training room. I'm studying. I'm doing a lot to make sure that, me and my teammates are ready to go on game day. So this is our opportunity to show our appreciation to them. So taking the pictures and staying a little bit longer than usual, It goes a long way with our fans because we really do appreciate them being loud and getting false starts and the things that they do to add on and giving teams the grief over there on that sideline over there in the student section area while they already in the sun. Now you get a little bit of some more noise from our fans. So this is the time for those guys to, especially like Arch and some of the guys that's going to be very busy. This is their time to say thank you because again they're not going to play much, so this can be a time. So hey, let me go out here and showcase and say thank you to the fans because you're gonna not really have a lot of access to them after this game is over with. So that's what I
Denzel.
loved about it.
And Bob, these guys would scrimmage
Right.
and then go clean up, and they would go sit and sign autographs for 6 hours. And I mean, I watched them. I was so proud of them. They'd hug kids and shake hands and smile at people and just handled it so well. It was unbelievable. So I was really proud of them giving back to the fans.
Yeah, and this day is for them, and as well as Chris Del Conte does a great job of doing some other things, experiencing, bringing some more experience for the fans too on that day. So, as a player standpoint, that's what you want to do. Your mindset is definitely go out and do what Coach asks us to do as players for this scrimmage. But before that or after, however they're going to do it, today is about our fans.
Tell the fans, get that number 10 jersey on. Get out there.
No, I'm gonna
If
wear.
there is
I'm,
any gum out there,
I'm gonna wear. I'm gonna wear number 10. I don't know if I can afford it. It's especially within a. But I watched Arch this morning. He looks great. I think he could play
yeah,
today. But what a great spring to get Bell and Lacey.
Yeah.
Opportunities to be, quote, in the position of a starter in the offseason where there's less pressure. So, number one, Sark can figure out what they can do. And number two, how much do you run it compared to throwing it when they're in there? What do they throw? Do you move them? Do you run option? What do you do with them? And so it's been a blessing this spring that Arch is healthy, able to teach those guys, but still is getting a lot of work.
And with everything we just talked about who to go watch, Diabell and KJ Lacey
Yes.
would not be two that are pretty good to go watch. So.
And they're both really good. And one wears 6 and one wears 9. So you got to be really careful not to confuse them when you're sitting there looking at your
right. And to add to Coach too is and then the stuff that we talked about last week. Who is those voices out there? On the offense side of the ball, on the defense side of the ball, who's going to be those guys, those leaders that's going to be out there making sure guys are doing what they're supposed to do, big time leaders. I'll be looking for that as well. So I get an opportunity to go to practice next week, and I'm looking forward to it. Going out there, just hanging out with the guys, and shooting shit like we always do.
Yeah, and I will say, Vince, Colin Simmons was vocal today.
Oh,
He was a
great.
leader. He was picking people up. I noticed Hero Canoe all over the place with those big guys up front. Good looking bunch up front, big bodies as they get it. You look at Ty Anthony Smith. Boy, is he a big, tall, impressive looking sucker that can run. So those guys were all leading and talking, and I was very impressed with practice.
That's what you want to see.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
especially from the veterans. That's what you want to
Yes.
see from the veterans.
And I got to visit with Will Muschamp and Blake Gideon, and Will coach Blake, and they love each other. So that marriage is moving forward and really, really good. And they're excited. Will's excited about what he's got, and people say, "What are you going to see different?" You're going to see aggressive now. They're going to come after people,
That's good.
and I'm already hearing more turnovers and more fumbles. Which, as a head coach, you're saying, "Great on the defense.
Right.
I can't stand that on the offense." That's why the head coach leaves the field mad every day.
Yes.
Because somebody on one side did better than the other side. So one of the 3 phases stunk.
Definitely.
And that's the one you're worried about. That's the one you got to lose sleep over.
And Will had his one and only availability that he'll have as defensive coordinator, and he had a T-shirt on that said NT equals NP, which is no thud equals no play. So this gonna be an aggressive defense. They're all ready to go, but you got to be physical if you're going to play on a Will Muschamp defense.
I heard him say if you turn down a thud, you're going to turn down a tackle. In modern day offenses that are spread all over the field, if you can't tackle, you can't play. So if you can't thud, you can't tackle, you can't play.
Yep. It's a nice little
very
system.
simple.
Good equation. Good algebra equation there.
very
NT
simple.
equals NP. Okay. Without further ado, we need to take a break because on the other side of this break, we're coming back with our special guest today. I know everybody's excited for this. We are bringing in Cooper Manning to talk a little Texas football family of Mannings, and of course, a little Arch as well. That's all coming up on the other side. This is the Stampede, a podcast on the Texas Longhorns. We're back after this. Texas has some of the highest property taxes in the country, and if you're a property owner like we are, you know it hits harder than a blindside sack. That's why every winning season starts with the right playbook. When it comes to lowering your property taxes, Texas Pro Tax has been calling winning plays for 38 seasons. They're the #1 defense against soaring tax bills, the kind of defense that stuffs rising values at the line and sends them back to the locker room.
Do your homework before you just let any firm suit up for you. I've looked at the stats, and Texas Pro Tax doesn't just win, they dominate.
We're talking big gains, deep passes, and the kind of tax-saving drives that make your wallet do a victory dance. While the other firms are warming the bench, Texas Pro Tax is driving the field, breaking tackles, and putting up game-changing Texas-sized tax savings.
Stampede listeners, your minimum fee is waived. No flags, no fumbles.
Visit TexasProTax.com, sign up and enter code STAMPEDE to join the winning team, and finally put your property taxes on the bench. All right, welcome back to the Stampede, a podcast on the Texas Longhorns alongside Vince Young and Mack Brown. I'm Bob Ballou, and we have a very special guest we are welcoming in today. He is known as a lot of different things, and most importantly, he is known as the host of the Manning Hour on Fox. You've seen that for more than a decade. He's the co-host of a podcast called We Need a Fourth alongside Brian Baumgartner and Kenny Mayne. It is hilarious if you get a chance to watch that. We welcome in Cooper Manning. And Cooper, before we get started, I have a very important question. Maybe it's something you can clear up from a decades-long argument that people have had about how to pronounce your first name. When people say the word Cupper, they kind of say it like that. Is that a New Orleans thing, or is that the official pronunciation?
I think it's redneck for Cooper. It's my mother is from small town Mississippi, Philadelphia, Mississippi, and she says it like it has 6 or 7 O's in a row, like Cooper. So it's like I always have to describe it to someone like it's like cookie, like cook. It's cook, not kook. You don't kook. You don't read a book. You read a book and you say me cook, but. You can call me Coop all day, and I'll answer. That's Eli can't pronounce it either, so it works out fine.
Well, you are the amount of things that I think all of us have watched you do over the years. You are absolutely hysterical. You're like a big kid doing all this media work and TV stuff. I know Vince and Mac have so many questions that we all want to get into, but how much fun are you having with everything that you're getting to do?
That's just kind of my way. I wish, I was planning on really growing up today. Now that I'm on this show, I was going to be mature and really elevate my game here. But I try to keep it light and have fun. And I've had a lot of fun with, with Coach and VY before. So I'm flattered to be on today.
Yeah, you guys take it away. VY, I feel like Vince is the one with the kid that's coming up as a recruit. He's the big man, just like you. Everybody knows you. Everybody knows Vince. Vince, why don't you kick this thing off with a couple questions for Cooper?
Oh,
Yeah,
well
I
done.
can,
Perfect.
I totally agree with you. I love just enjoying, showing off my personality. A lot of people don't get the chance to see it. They just look at this big, tall guy. He's a quarterback. He did that. But like Bob just said, and Coach knows, I enjoy just being who I am and being silly and having fun with it. So I can definitely relate to what you just said. So, well, my question is how couldn't you teach, my guy, Arch, the mental part of it, like knowing how hard it is to play quarterback at the University of Texas. But when he went through to me, it wasn't bad at all. But when the world was talking about him, how did you continue to, stay on and be like, don't worry about that on the mental side of it?
I really just kind of embraced the role of being a dad.
Exactly.
I try not to get into too much more than just, hey, trying to be a good teammate, try to enjoy things. Everybody has bad days. I told Arch kind of in the thick of the little lumps, if you will, that I just watched a documentary on John Elway, who's one of the greatest of all time, and some of the grief that he went through and some of the critique. I'm like, if they're criticizing John Elway, they're going to come after everybody. And I said, if you're lucky, Arch, if you're lucky, you get to play in 25, 50, 100 more games where people are critical of you. That means you're playing on a big stage. They expect big things out of you, and you're playing in big games that matter. And so that's part of the drill. That's part of what he signed up for coming to Texas. And so I just want him, you want all your children to be happy and enjoying it. And there's certainly bad days and good days that come along with football and in a team sport. But I think he's going to have far more good days than bad days. So just keeping his spirits up and hoping he's enjoying everything. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, that's very important to me because I do that with my son Jordan and my daughter. Everybody be like, Vince, do you be coaching and doing? I'm like, nah, I try to be dad.
Right.
I want to let them know I'm proud of you. I love you. You know, just small things that they may need. Did you clean up, make your bed up? Did you make your lunch? You know, just stuff that a dad does. So I totally agree with that.
Yeah, I think once these dads start getting too involved in the day to day or the nitty gritty, you kind of lose your ability to parent. I want the call when things go right and when things go wrong, and everything in between is. I think that's why you also raise these children to make decisions for themselves, to pick the school they want to go to be around the coaches, to be around the friends. So when things go right, it's great. When things go wrong, hey, they made the choice. It's not about the parents. So
Right.
it's been a great time. I love being in Austin, Texas. You know, selfishly, I have 2 boys there now. Hyde is a sophomore and having, in a fraternity and doing all the running wild and business school and having fun. And we love being there, but I didn't want my parents with me when I was in college. So we like being in Austin. But hey, if I go 2 weeks without seeing them, that's
Right.
fine too, So it's
I get it.
we're enjoying the whole process, really are.
That's great to hear.
Well, your dad's one of the nicest people I've ever met. I just love your dad. I mean, he's unbelievable. Was a great player, obviously. Do the brothers and your dad talk to Arch about quarterback play? Do they talk to him about strategy and fundamentals? And who's the go-to here?
I think he picks little spots for all of them. He's certainly. I liked that those guys all have their own relationship. Arch can call Peyton about something. He can call Eli, and he certainly talks to my dad a good bit. And it was fun, selfishly, to have my dad in New Orleans when we were all coming up. So Archie would, he'd be over for dinner. He was at a lot of the flag football games and would go to practice, and just so he was a big presence in Arch's life. And then those other guys, they have children. They live in different towns. They're uncles. And I kind of treat them like my nephews. Like, if they need me, I'm here, but I'm not getting in the weeds and getting in, I don't even know if Eli came to a high school football game. I mean, he was up in Jersey. He's got 4 children. Peyton came to a couple, and they both come to a couple in Texas, but they're there as a resource. I think they kind of say, if Arch wants to use it, call me and I'll do anything for him, but I don't think it's a weekly deal. I know, but they love spending time together at the Manning Passing Academy. That's been something. It's the 30th year down in Thibodaux, Louisiana, that we all get together, and that's on the calendar. I mean, I room with my dad. Peyton rooms with Eli. Arch is in a dorm rooming with another quarterback, and it's a great experience, and it's fun to kind of travel around the NFL and see all these guys that were all a part of that alumni status, and you get to know all these different quarterbacks. But they're great resources for Arch, but they're raising their own kiddos, and if there's a problem, sure, but if not, let it go.
And you have to get somebody to room with Deems May.
Deems,
and there
yes.
has to be a bedtime that you get him in and go find him and all that. But the Manning camp's unbelievable. The Drake May was there as he was growing up. Sam Howell was there. All of our quarterbacks in the past have gone to the Manning camp's most unbelievable camp for young quarterbacks, and only the best ones get to come. But it makes it really cool. Another thing that's a little unusual, you could get a suite. You and your bride could sit in a box. You sit right in the middle of fans. And I had an older coach's wife tell me once that the 2 hardest things to do at a football game are be the head coach's wife and sit in the stands, and be the quarterback's mother and sit in the stands and listen to the things that are said. How do you do that? Have you and do you are you ready to punch anybody? I mean, it is your kid,
We have a great. I say one thing Texas does better than I can imagine is they're really good about putting all the parents together. We have a great tailgate before the game, and so you get to know all the. I know all the linemen's parents. I know the defense. You get to meet people before the game, and you're sitting amongst them, and they're all biting their fingernails and nervous just like you are. So, and you're kind of everybody seems to be pretty respectful, even if, whatever, Arch throws a ball and it gets dropped, you don't say anything because receivers' parents are right behind it. And when he throws a bad one, they kind of know, hey, so you're in it together, and they've got a great, love the parents. And I think, sometimes up in the suite, believe me, I love going up there every now and then and, and cooling off a little bit and having a little fun. But kind of the football watching part, I think, is always better in the stands. I've always enjoyed that. And on the road at LSU this year might be a little different. I do have some friends at LSU who've invited me to the suite. I go, I don't know if I want to sit in the suite when Arch throws a pick and y'all are all cheering. I'd rather just be down with my parents in the Texas section. So, I think that I'll be outdoors.
Yeah, at this year's Texas A&M game, I was sitting with R.C. Slocum, and Texas just starts killing them the second half, and Sally and I, everybody in the suite screaming, and R.C.'s got his head down. I'm saying, okay, what do I do?
It's awkward.
I just kind of sit here and
I had to learn that the hard way. That happened to me a couple times on the road in the pro football. You go to a suite and people are nice enough to invite you up there, and then Peyton throws a pick six and everybody's high fiving, and you're like, I'm going to kill somebody in here. So stick me in the end zone with the several hundred road fans. I'll be fine.
Yeah. Now, a couple of other parent questions. Do you get really nervous the night before the game? Are you really anxious right before the game? Are you more anxious as a parent than you were as a player?
100% more nervous as a parent. And I guess I like that. I guess I have a little bit of a seasoning on. I was similar when Peyton and Eli were playing in those big games. You get kind of nervous. Not until right before the game. Just that hour before. I like them early because the day lasts too long. I'd rather not have a 6 o'clock game. I'd rather play at 11 where you can get up and just kind of get it going. Having to
eight in the morning.
Right. I'm sure everybody would like that. And I'm trying to be cooler and better and not just muscle through every single third down or overthrow or what have you or penalty, but I'm trying to enjoy it and not get too emotional one way or the other. But shoot, I'm not that good at it. I'm trying, but I'm not that good at it.
So how do you feel about his development right now as a quarterback? I'm very impressed. I was telling Coach and Bob, the last 6, 7 games was very impressive to me because when you're that young and don't have a lot of reps under your belt, some kids go to throwing their helmet or getting frustrated, but he handled himself really well with going to the sideline and figuring out with Coach about what he did wrong and what he can do better. Talk about his development.
No, I agree, Vince. Nobody wants to see their children go through, times of struggle, but we'd all be lying if it said it wasn't good for you. And you look back, you don't like it at the time, but it makes you better. And you kind of only learn what not to do by doing it sometimes. Correct. And so I think he's fortunate to have sat for a year and got to play some, and then now had a full year under his belt. And I like the way he's developed. I think he's not, he wasn't in a huge hurry to hurry up and get there. Just because you're a decorated high school player and you got offers all the places doesn't mean you have to hurry up and play. Sometimes you want to watch, learn, get ready. It's a big jump from 2A high school football to playing Georgia on the road. Those things they don't. You kind of have to do it. They don't teach that to you in the manual. So I think the plan has all come together nicely. I think the team is going to be even better than last year. He's got more weapons and more people around him that he can just get it to and watch them do the stuff. And so, but I was down there in Florida when nothing was going right, and it felt like we were going to lose in Starkville, and you kind of pull one out, and then you kind of saw Oklahoma game, get a little momentum and get some. And so I thought it was a really great year to learn, and I'm looking forward to this one.
You guys may not know this. We have a little bit of Nostradamus here. Cooper, I know you remember this. You were on the Dan Patrick show, and you basically laid out exactly what was going to happen. Your quote was, he's getting way too much attention and way too much credit. He's going to struggle, and they're going to say he's overrated. It's coming. Everyone knows it. It's easy to see the writing on the wall. You can't prepare someone for a situation like that. It's impossible to prepare a kid for that. But how did you deal with it as a dad when he was going through some of that stuff early on last year? And how do you think he dealt with overcoming it?
We had some a candid or two conversation, just kind of us two, like, man, are they going to run my ass out of here? And I'm going, they might, if they do, we'll be okay. There's always going to be a spot. Just hang tight. keep your head down, work hard, and I promise it's all going to shake out. And that's really all the advice you can give anybody. You work hard, do what you're supposed to do, listen to your coaches, and you're going to win some, lose some. That's part of the deal. So, um, and that's going to happen again. That's
Sure.
just the way it goes. You got to, for some reason, in the world of sports, there's a lot of people who have a voice. And some are qualified to have be critical, and some are not. And you listen
Exactly.
to the ones that are qualified. If the coach has a problem, it's a problem. If a GM of a team doesn't like something, it's probably a problem. But some guy who's watches just the highlights and comments on you and says, "Oh, he's the best ever," and he's the worst ever. You got to discount all that, because that's just fluff.
What
The media.
Yeah,
You know the media.
Bob was somewhere in that group you were just
Come on
talking
now.
about, Cooper.
You know what's funny?
And
The biggest
I've
bust
seen him
of
do
all time,
both.
or whatever it
Yeah.
was, the flop.
Yeah.
The flop.
Yeah.
Of
Yeah,
the
what-
biggest flop in college football. But you know what's
No.
funny? I did use that quote from that Dan Patrick show because I kept telling people it's literally the way football goes. This is the way everything always goes in this sport.
Yeah.
And you know it's coming.
I don't
Yeah.
know of anybody in sports who just has this, steady climb and just keeps
Yeah.
going and stops. I mean, you have lumps, and you have disappointment, and you have hurdles, and that's kind of what everybody's looking for, is how does the person respond to when things go poorly? And that's the thing in a team sport too. You can play lights out, and the defense has a tough day, and they return punts, and it doesn't go right, and you lose. And you can have a kind of a so-so day and not do much, and everything goes right and you win. So it's just part of it. And Coach knows and Vince knows it's not always fun, and it hurts your stomach, and you don't sleep well at night. But that's just how to get off the mat and get back up is kind of what is how they're grading you.
Right.
When I was recruiting you and your brothers, we didn't have NIL. We didn't have contracts. We didn't have agents that you couldn't even go eat dinner with an agent without paying your own. And now we got agents for everybody.
Right.
We didn't have social media like we do now. How do you and your bride, do you read the stuff? Do you get on the internet? Do you listen to radio shows in Austin? Because there's 13 of them that talk about football every day. I talked to Sark this morning at practice, and every day here is game day.
Right.
Every day, 365 days of the year, it's 4th and 1. I mean, there's no day off for college football, which is one of the things you love about the place. But how do you and your bride handle the stuff?
I think my Ellen has a couple people on her list that I think she would probably punch in the face if she could get a one-on-one with. But
Sally had a few, Cooper. She, as nice as Sally is, I said, "You said what?"
No,
you told him what?
We really tried not to read too much. I mean, there's some people that I think have good information and are credible, and I and respect what they do, and those are and those are fewer and far between. I mean, certainly, you listen, but I don't read it all. I don't take it all. And a lot of those guys, I mean, they're not at practice. They're not behind the scenes. They don't really quite know. And so that's fine. I like the info, but I don't necessarily need the opinion. I like, someone looks good in practice, or someone's, the recruiting stuff, who we're going to get. That's neat. But
give me facts.
The day-to-day is yeah.
Yeah, I was at practice today, and Arch looked great. So people who are worried about him missing spring and not throwing enough, and oh my gosh, he looked great. It was fun. And those Cam Cameron, the new receiver, those 3 receivers are going to be special. Running backs look good. I mean, it's a good looking football team, and I'm so impressed with the kids. They all come up and speak to me. They look you in the eye. They shake your hand. The grade point average is way up there. I said, Arch came over during practice and said, "Coach, can you stay a minute so I can visit with you afterwards?" And so polite. But the thing that I'm so impressed with Arch about now, it's hard to be the leader unless you're the starter. So he had 2 years of standing around and working and learning, and everybody said, "But he's not a leader." Well, you're not the guy. So all of a sudden, he's become the guy, and I watch him. I see Cameron catch a touchdown pass. He didn't even throw it. He sprints over and high-fives those 3 receivers, and he's patting the offensive lineman on the tail and talking to this guy over here. He's so engaged, and I think that's the growth that I've seen with him that's so much fun to watch and see him grow up.
I think you're right, Mac. It's it's an adjustment to becoming the leader. You can't be the backup and be the leader of the team. That's that. If you are, that's a problem.
Yeah, it's a
And
problem.
so, you watch how certain people do it. And I think that's kind of like anything when you're young. You look at the older people and go, "Boy, I like the way he does that. I think I would do that part different." And that's the way being an assistant coach. You look at a head coach and go, "I love taking these nuggets. I'm gonna borrow those. Those I would do differently." And you just kind of become your own guy, and it morphs you into it. So those veterans, a lot of those fifth-year guys when Arch was a freshman, he those linemen you got to hang out with, that's all good stuff to become, the leader that you are. I'll tell you one thing about the football team. I know Sark will tell you too, the quality of human beings on this team is good. Or, they used to have, early on, you had some guys that you didn't want on the team, and now it's a good group. If you're a bad dude or kind of a selfish guy, you're probably going to be by yourself a lot more because this is a unselfish group, really good kids, nice parents, joys to be around. I've met a lot of these guys, and they like being with one another, and so that was a part of I think part of the equation when Arch was choosing Texas. Like, look around this locker room. Who can I be friends with? Who am I going to dinner with when football's not in session? Or whose house am I going to? Who am I going home with? Who am I bringing home for Mardi Gras? That kind of thing. Just guys that you want to be around, and that'll be there when things don't go right. They're not the blame game doesn't start. And I think Sark's done an unbelievable job of creating a culture that obviously good players, but good people.
And Coop, who is Arch outside of football? For the fans to know the person.
Yeah.
What's he interested in? What's he going to do when he gets through playing football one of these days? Who is he?
I think he's evolving. I mean, he's 21 now, and he doesn't even resemble the kid that went off to school. He gave up social media for Lent, and I loved it. He called me more than I've ever been called in my life because he couldn't get on his phone. And he goes, "Dad, I think I like who I am better, not scrolling around." And so I think he's just growing up and having new interests and evolving. And I think that's what college is about. And I think that's why it's important to stay a while and be you know, turn into watch a young man turn into a man. And I think he's really lucky to have his brother there. Hyde is kind of a running mate who's doing a whole different element of college, but they get along. He's got friends. He's a Texas Cowboy, which is a great honor, and meeting different people from different walks of life inside the university to get away from just being friends with everybody in the locker room. I think that's made him much more well-rounded, and I think he's kind of coming into his own. It's the guy I talked to on the phone now does not resemble the 16-year-old that was going on recruiting trips, nor the 18-year-old we dropped off in Austin. He's growing up, and it's fun to see. I'm proud of who he's become.
And Cooper, I wanted to ask you about that plan because less than 1% of college football quarterbacks would do what Arch has done in sitting his first year.
Uh-huh.
He comes in that Texas Tech game. It's the loudest cheer in DKR in years. And then he sits behind Quinn his second year. Why were your family so comfortable with allowing Sark to let him develop and go about this the way you guys have gone about this? And what is it about Sark that made you guys want to be comfortable doing that?
Well, I think of all the schools that recruited Arch, he's the only play caller that is still at the school he visited. You had Alabama, new coaching staff, new play callers, Clemson, Ole Miss, LSU, Georgia, all new faces. I knew if this thing was going to work, Sark was going to be calling plays and going to be in his ear. And I thought, boy, who else better to develop you, whether you're going to become an NFL player or a coach, or just to be knowledgeable of offense and be able to get on the board with Sean McVay or Sean Payton or Bill Belichick or anybody and go, okay, this guy, I know my stuff. I know things that I'm supposed to know to be a developed, wise, offensive, thoughtful guy. And so Sark is a great developer of quarterbacks. And I think he was also like, what's the hurry? What are we hurrying up to do? You want the 18-year-old doesn't need to be, thrown in there. Let him learn, let him get comfortable. And when the time is right, you go play well. So I'm sure there's many games and many nights where like boy, I know he wish he would have played that way. Maybe he could have done, you know, better than they thought he could do. But patience is a virtue. It's worked out, and he's got 2 more years of eligibility. I mean, he loves Texas. He loves being there. He was happy even though he wasn't playing because he knew, there was a plan in place, and Sark laid that out. And I think it's been, a little unique, but I think it's been good for him.
Yeah.
It's
Great
such a
energy.
credit. It's such a credit to you and your mom. I mean, for your dad and your mom to have raised you 3. And now you all are raising incredible families. What for parents out there, what did your mom and your dad do to get you all grounded? Because you're all celebrities in different ways. You've all grown. You've kept your family together. A lot of families get jealous and split and don't speak and get in trouble over money, and you all pick at each other and you have fun. And what was the trick for young families out there for your mom and dad?
I am quite lucky. I can't tell you how many times growing up, especially raising little ones, going, all right, what would Archie do here? What's the move here? You just lean on that sort of experience, and we kept it simple and kept the main thing the main thing. Didn't get too crazy on the sports. Kept it balanced, and I passed, and just like my dad, probably had a lot of opportunity to do some really neat things, going on trips or going on golf trips, this, that, and the other, and elected to stay home. Dinners, breakfast in the morning before we went to school, and dinners at night, and just the basics go a long way. But it's, we've enjoyed it. I love having my parents in town and close by, and they love being a part of going to all these high school games. It was great. It's always great to have grandparents involved with the help of raising your children.
Definitely.
And it's Archie has more burnt orange. He has he's got more on than Vince.
And that's
Well,
a problem.
that's a problem. Well, Cooper, my last question would be college football's different. There's
Yeah.
obviously some good things about NIL. There's some good things about transfer portal. And there's some issues with all of them. There's issues with agents. If you're talking about the future, what would you change? But you've grown up in football. You're the
Mhm.
first family of football in my estimation. You've all played in college. You've got pro experience. You've got kids now that are playing. What needs to be fixed, and how do we fix it?
I think I like. I mean, the NIL portion of things. Especially some families that can all of a sudden change their life, and it's not inexpensive to go to if you live out of town to get to a game and get up there and find a hotel and stay some places, and something that stuff I think is good for families and good for kids that have worked hard and to you know to profit. I don't like the transfer portal being able to just hop around all the time. I mean, maybe if you go to a spot, you're not happy and you move on. And then I also don't like playing too many years. 5 years to play, 4 years of eligibility. We don't need 19-year-old boys competing against 25 and 26-year-old boys. That's not how it's supposed to go. So, you can move once. After that, I think it needs to be a year sit out, and then just look. You got 5 years to play, 4 years, make it happen, and then college is over. I wish I could stay in college for 8 years. I'm sure everybody does, but
If we had
they-
NIL, Vince
they-
would still be playing.
all right,
I mean,
I can remember.
that's
can remember
100%.
graduating from college, and I would still go home every now and then and sneak some of my dress shirts in my dad's cleaners, and he's trying to get him to pay. He's like, scholarship is over, buddy, get on with it. And I think
Right.
that's a good parenting tip. Come on, it's time to go. You're not moving home. You get out there and go get it. So, but the interest level is amazing. Mac, I mean, the level of interest in college sports and football in particular, and the passion, and especially in this part of the world, it really matters. People really care. It's part of the deal. I can remember someone getting married on an Ole Miss LSU weekend when I was growing up. Like, how rude is that? I cannot
Yeah.
believe. Why would they not know? It's like, no, so
And then nobody went.
Right.
They all went to the game.
they're all
So-
they'd all be on their phone now. So you
yeah.
just-
Oh,
Yeah.
no, how's the wedding? Yeah, no, we're up 7-6.
yeah. So
Yeah.
it's it's the SEC is great, and to have all these rivalries, and this year to be able to go to great places like go play in Death Valley and go play at the University of Tennessee and host Ole Miss. I mean, these are a lot of games that are, and for us selfishly, interwoven in family relationships and rivals and in history. So it's going to be a neat year, and I hope everybody stays healthy and it goes well.
Would you suggest to parents that they get an agent as a sophomore in high school, junior in high school, senior in high school? Would you stay out of the agent business and handle it as a parent? Because Vince is going to know the agents. You and your family know the agents. You're going to be well represented because you can choose right and you have the ability to get the right people. The parents out there that don't have help and are getting the wrong people involved, and the people are taking 25-30% of their money, it's just stealing.
I think Vince can relate. You say you look around and you go, who is really smart and got his act together? Who does he use?
Right.
Who's smarter than me and knows what he's doing? I think that's who I'm gonna, ask for the help on homework, not someone you don't respect. So I would, as far as an agent go, I would make sure he represents some other people that you think really have their act together and really respect how they carry themselves. That's who you want helping you and representing you. And a lot of times these agents, especially when the portal comes open, they want you to go to where maybe you make more money, because you know what? They make more money, as opposed to where you should be and where you should stay, and and giving you the best advice that a parent or an advisor would do, as opposed to someone who just wants a transaction to take place. So you got to be careful. I think you want to also go to a school that you're going to be happy, that you want to go to, or if you're lucky enough to be able in a situation where you can pick where you want to go, you're getting recruited by these schools, go where you think it's going to be a good place for you. Please don't make a decision at the end of the day, when you look over the life of your career, it's going to be a nominal amount of money, the difference between one place and another. That would be really, really short-sighted to make a big decision on, what could be not that much money.
Well,
Cooper, before we let you go, we have one more very important question here. I
Mhm.
believe, if I'm not mistaken, you're a 6 handicap. Is that right?
No, I wish I was a 6. I'm 6'4",
6'4".
height, but other than that-
Okay.
Right.
No, I'm
Okay,
about
come
a
on.
double the 6. It just
Details,
hangs around
details.
12 all the time.
Okay. So from what we know, Arch plays a little bit. He's pretty decent golfer. Can he
Yeah.
beat you?
Arch will be able to beat me once he gets an off season. It's a little violent right now and a little volatile, but it's a lot of swing speed. Right now he makes fun of me about it. He hits it 100 by me, but somehow my score is always a little bit better than his. So it's coming, but right now I'd bet on Pops right now. But
It's always the best thing when you can beat your dad.
Well,
Yeah.
It's the best.
until
Fun
the
part.
wheel comes up. There's sometimes winning is actually losing. And I've told my son that. The grandson, I'll let him win. That's fine with me. I'm good with that. I'm
Right.
not going to let the son win. And I told him, you can win now and lose later, because I'm going to make some decisions on that wheel, big boy. So just understand, if it's that important for you to beat old Mack in golf, good.
Right.
You be proud of yourself as you go broke.
I
think
always let
that's
Bill
fine.
Duval win too. He always
Yeah.
hits him a good move. Him and
Well,
Baker, Montgomery, and Bill can win
No,
every time. As far
well,
as I'm
they're
around.
going to win. We do know that. But thank you for being on, and for all of us and so many people out there at a time where we've got so many things going on in our world. I love you and your family and what you stand for, and how you stayed grounded, and you're raising your children in a wonderful way in this crazy world. And we appreciate you, and appreciate you taking time to let Texas fans look a little bit behind the scenes to the Manning family too.
Yeah.
So it's really cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Well,
Love
Mac,
you and appreciate you, and appreciate you being on.
I really appreciate it. I remember, Mac, when we went on a golf trip after Peyton won that Super Bowl, we had a great time, and I remember going, boy, I've got 5-year-olds right now. I sure hope one day they could, be around Mack Brown, because what a wonderful mentor he is, and it worked out one way or the other right here. Glad we're all on the same team, and
Yeah.
and thrilled to be part of the Longhorn Nation.
Well,
Yes.
thank you. We were
Thank you.
actually sitting at a dinner one night, and I can't even say where it was. And they said, "You all can." All the Mannings were there, and myself and a friend. And they said, "If one of you all will win a Super Bowl or a national championship, I'll bring you back next year." We said, well, thanks. Yeah, that's easy to do. So we win the national championship. So we all go back. We're all sitting there. And the same person says to the two Mannings, since we had won the national championship, "You guys win a Super Bowl, we'll bring you back next year." Wins the Super Bowl. Goes back and he says, "Okay, you're the only one. You win a Super Bowl, you'll be back next year." Won a Super Bowl, and we came back. So we had a good run there with a lot of good golf.
Well, that was a good run. I hope we got another excuse to get together.
Yes.
Exactly.
No question.
Cooper, thank you so much for the time. We really
Thanks,
appreciate it.
Coop.
We look forward to seeing you on the sidelines and especially in the stands with a cowboy hat on, looking good, ready to go for Texas football. All right,
Thanks,
that's Cooper Manning. He's the host of the Manning Hour, and we need a fourth podcast, as well as Arch's dad. And I know he's a proud dad at that. All right, when we come back, more from the Stampede, a podcast on the Texas Longhorns. We're back after this. All right, welcome back to the Stampede, a podcast on the Texas Longhorns. It is now time for Texas Pro Tax Pros. When it comes to lowering your property taxes, Texas Pro Tax has been calling winning plays for more than 38 seasons. And as a Stampede listener, when you sign up at Texas Pro Tax, your minimum fee will be waived. Just visit TexasProTax.com and sign up and enter the code STAMPEDE to join the winning team and put your property taxes on the bench. VY, let's get into our guy. We love this guy. I still can't believe he wasn't invited to the combine. But as we continue our NFL draft previews, we're previewing Ethan Burke today. You love this guy as much as I do. I think being around him for the last, not just at Texas, but in his time at Westlake too. Just a good kid. Really feels like he has a strong football future ahead of him.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Ethan when you first look at the tape?
Well, a great kid for one, very respectful. You know, every time I go to practice or go to the games, he always come up to me and speak and, "Hey, big guy, how you doing?" And, checking on me. And I'm always giving him, "Hey, it's okay to get a personal foul, throw a quarterback on the ground. You know that, right?" He always laugh. And always tell him I'm proud of him. So just to see that the things that he's going through, yeah, he should have definitely been invited to the combine. So I already know this kid is one of those kids to me. He just do what he's told. He gonna definitely definitely have to gain a little bit more weight, but you can play him pretty much anywhere. He's a guy that has speed. He can run sideline to sideline. He's tall. One of the things that a lot of coaches and D linemen teach is put your hands up. If you can't get there, you can knock the ball down. He does a great job with that. But overall, I feel like he's a kid that you can use him anywhere. And he reminds me of Kyle Vandenbosch that I played with in Tennessee. A person that was always there at work on time. If you ask him to do something, he's going to do it. And when you have somebody like that, that means that he'll do anything for his team. And that's what I love about him as I got to know him at the University of Texas.
And he stayed here all 4 years, played 51
Exactly.
games. He was tied for second with 7 tackles for loss last year.
Yep.
I always wonder, Vince, it feels like there are a lot of guys around the country that are kind of like him that
Correct.
you really trust as a college football player. You see it in him. What makes the difference in becoming, when you're a 4th round pick, 5th round pick into a 7th round pick or an undrafted free agent? What makes the difference for a guy like Ethan Burke no matter where he's drafted,
Right.
but as he tries to start this NFL journey, what's going to make the difference for him?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest difference for him is he just got to continue to showcase who he is. A lot of teams across the NFL love guys like Burt because you don't have to worry about him when he leaves the facility. You know he's going to be here on time. He's going to study because he's hungry. He wants to play. He wants to showcase his talent not only for his teammates but all the naysayers and doubters that he had to go through. You don't see too much kids like, from, Westlake do the things that he's done. And you got Taft as that guy. You got guys that want it. And even though they showcasing their talent a lot, but what I like about them, like you just said, is their character. When you find guys like that, they are going to be like that for a long time. They've been raised right and they're going to do what's right. So for me, I love teammates like that I know I can depend on and I can go to war with. And Burt is one of those kids that a lot of these NFL teams are going to love about him when they get to know his character.
And he blocked 3 field goals at Texas. He obviously had the huge 4th and 1 stop against A&M last year in College Station at Kyle Field.
Yes.
He makes big plays. He's around the ball. I think to your point, if once he gains a little weight and they kind of see what he can be, I think teams are gonna be really excited about him. That
Yeah.
special teams portion though is really big too, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a steal. You get a steal out of him in the draft, and
Yeah.
that's what I've been saying about a lot of the guys. You're getting overlooked. Don't think that they're not watching and not paying attention to you. So continue to do what you're doing because I feel because of your character, we already know you're gonna be pretty good on the football field, but things that you can't coach is your character, and you have that it in yourself. So I love that about Bert, and I love that smile. That smile gonna get him a long way.
No doubt. He was a hell of a lacrosse player. It's gonna be
Exactly.
really fun to see if he could become a hell of an NFL player
Oh yeah,
as
he's
he
gonna be
takes
one of
that
those
next
guys
step.
we're gonna see on some commercials for
Yeah,
sure.
love it. Hey, as always, win big savings on your property taxes with Texas Pro Tax. Sign up and use the promo code STAMPEDE at texasprotax.com. And as we welcome Coach Brown back in, we do need to talk a little legislation, the latest executive order on college sports. I know you've been a part of this, and there are all these things that are being laid out. We're trying to get to different ideas, different things put in place. Can you explain to people how difficult this really is going to be to make this happen over the next few months?
Yes, I'm impressed that people are trying.
Yeah, for sure.
We everybody is searching for that perfect game that we've got, and like Coach Roll told me when I got to Texas, all the BBs are out of the box and they're scattered around the room. Well, the BBs in college sports are out of the box, and they're scattered everywhere. And there's some great things that we've talked about on this show. NIL's got some great components. Transfer portal's got some great components, but is the toothpaste out of the tube, and are we doing too much? So how do we get it back together? So I'm impressed with the committee the president's put together. Vince has called for student athletes. So there's a Zoom next week with student athletes and get their input and their thought. And that's a load for them because they're talking about for every athlete out there. Do we cut out their money? What do we do? How do we take a transfer away? And what I'm learning is, and all of us have our ideas, and all of us say, let's fix this, let's fix this. What I'm learning is, without antitrust for college sports and for the NCAA, we're not going to get anything done. So Congress has got to help by giving antitrust a position. So when we say, let's give 5 years for 5 years of eligibility, so we won't have 32-year-olds playing college football. Let's transfer one time without penalty, and then another time if you graduate. And there are obviously a few exceptions in there with religion or military. But until we get antitrust, the lawsuits will keep those things from holding in place. So I do like the fact that we're bringing student athletes in to talk about how they feel. I do like the fact that they've got ex-athletes. They've got some coaches on there with myself, Nick Saban, and Urban Meyer, Tim Tebow, Charlie Ward's on there. You start looking at guys who have played and been there and done that. Condoleezza Rice is on there. The commissioners from different levels, not just the Power Four commissioners. So we're getting a lot of smart people in the room, which we said we needed to do. And now all we've got to do is have Congress say, we want to help. And Congress is in a bind because some of their fans that elect them don't want it to change. Because some of the schools got more money than the others. So if my school says leave it alone and they're voting for me, then I may leave it alone. So that's why it's hard. But I'm impressed that everybody is aware we got a problem, and therefore everybody's together and trying to fix it.
We've been doing this podcast for, I think, 9 or 10 months now. And Vince, you have been such a huge proponent of having the student athletes at the table. And as they go into another meeting, the student athletes are going to get the chance. How excited are you about that portion of it? But also, what do you want them to be able to say?
Well, yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is you got all these people making all these decisions, and we're the ones out there playing the game. So to have us there, we can all sit down and kind of talk and learn from one another on both aspects of it because we all love this game. We all love college football, and the way it's going, we don't want to see that happen to the next generation of kids. So we have to do what we're doing. So to see that, and for the players that's going in, I would love for them to voice that. You know, we're tired of seeing everybody else leeching off us, and we're not having the opportunity to voice our opinion about it. So for them to do that, that's a lot of respect for me, and I'm pretty sure a lot of other athletes out there can say the same thing. And then adding to that, I hope someone in there makes sure that we're making people accountable for their mistakes and things that they're doing. That has to be way up there at the top of the list because we're not making people accountable for all the stuff they're doing behind the scenes, from the agents, from some of the coaches, whoever's tampering. That has to be up there because if you don't address it and make sure that that is not happening, people gonna keep doing it. So make people accountable. But I'm pretty sure, Timbo and Tebow and Charlie, these guys that's going to be there, I'm pretty sure they got some great things to say. But that's from my opinion, from my standpoint.
Well, that's a great point
Yeah.
because we're worried about agents that are representing families that aren't qualified and stealing from the families
Right.
and families that wouldn't know whether this agent was credible or not. And like Vince said, until you punish the cheaters at the highest level, number one, you got to be able to enforce the rule. And then you've got to be able to punish them. And unless the consequences are bigger than the tampering, then they're going to keep tampering
Correct.
because it's all about winning. So you got this is a big time in American sports where you got to get people's attention, and you got to do it at the highest level. And that means firing them. That means make them sit out for a year. That means not paying them. I mean, you can't suspend them for one game.
And everybody's watching.
Everybody's
'Cause,
watching.
Me and Coach
very
go
closely.
everywhere, and you too, Bob. We all walk around everywhere, and that's the main question. What
Yep.
are we going to do, and how are we going to fix it?
And the other thing that's confusing is everybody wants Olympic sports to be good and strong. We love our Olympics. We get our Olympians from the Olympic sports. We don't want women's basketball to go to a club sport.
Yeah.
We don't want field hockey and lacrosse. Women's field hockey and lacrosse at North Carolina are huge. They're
Swimming
always
and
in the
diving
top.
here. I mean,
Swimming and
that's
diving
enormous,
here.
Yeah.
We don't want those going away. Nobody does, but everybody wants to win in football and basketball.
Right.
So there's a tremendous amount of pressure on presidents and athletics directors. Where do I put the money?
Mhm.
And I still see the lopsided scores in the women's tournament really concern me. And when Coach Schaefer was on here and he said, I'm concerned that some of the women's teams aren't getting the money in the SEC they used to get. Well, when you turn it on, it's 95-42. That tells you somebody got more money than somebody else.
All right.
And there weren't a lot of upsets on the men's side this year. It was pretty much chalk. I know there was like the Iowa, Florida. There were one or two high point,
Yes.
but there weren't the March Madness upsets
No.
that we've talked about over the years.
No.
Oh, yeah.
March Madness wasn't mad.
Yeah.
It was madness. But the last thing is that it's hard, even because I've thought about this. If I'm a student and I'm a football player, and all my football player friends are getting money at a high level, and I'm on that committee, and I'm a lady swimmer, and I'm fighting for my sport, but the football guy's got to fight for his sport, they're in a tough spot too.
Sure.
Because it's hard to figure it out. There's not enough money to go around and get to everything we need to get to right now,
Right.
because we've let it get out of control.
Right.
And maybe one of the more important points in this, and I know you said this just to reemphasize it though, the order goes into effect August 1st, and there's talk that if you don't follow it, you could lose federal funding, those type of things. The problem is if antitrust isn't in place, none of this potentially is going to happen, because you have to have that in place if it's going to happen.
Got to have it in place. So everybody is fighting to try to get the Congress to vote antitrust in, so we can make rules. If 5 years is best, and some of the people have said start that ruling at 19, so they'd be through at 24. If that's best for the student athletes and for sports, then come on, Congress, help us get antitrust so we can do what's best.
All right.
We've all said it. You don't want 19-year-olds. Cooper just said it. We don't want an 18, sometimes 17-year-old playing against a 26-year-old
Yeah.
in college sports.
No, we talk about safety. We talk about mental health. We've got a chance to fix a whole lot of things here, and there is a lot of talk about safety for the student athletes. There's a lot of talk about mental health being a bigger priority. We talk about it, but do we have facilities in place to help? Because there's a lot of pressure on these kids right now, and a lot of
Yep.
depression, and especially with concerns about money and transferring, and it's just there's a lot of things on their mind. It's a lot.
And we
Well, I know-
asking them, and we asking the athletes, where do you want to be at in 3 to 4 years? So when they structuring their 3 or 4 year life out, we, as like Coach said, if it's 5 years, that kid is structuring his life in that 5 year span. So we have to help them and get to a point where they're trying to be it as an athlete or in business, whatever they're trying to do. We have to have that window for them.
Yeah, and Vince, nobody's talking about graduation anymore.
Yeah.
And that's so key. But now in this proposal to graduate or to transfer twice, you got to graduate. So if you want to transfer again, you got to graduate, man. So that's the reward gives you another opportunity. If you want to play another year and you're not playing enough at your school, get your degree. And then at least you've got a chance to go make a living.
Right.
And then you can go play wherever you want to.
And I know you'll be following this closely because you're heavily involved as well. And Vince and I will be watching. It's the next couple of months are going to be pretty big to see if they can start to really make some of the rules that the NCAA needs.
We'll
to
be
enforce.
bothering him through his text messages.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
You all wear me out. It's just
you don't send us pictures of golf stuff, but we want to see pictures of you inside some of those meetings. That's what we really want to see.
Yeah, I'm a little sick of your golf pictures too.
I got to rub that in.
Every time, Vince. Every time.
I have to.
It never gets old.
Just let me know I'm thinking about you guys.
Oh yeah, in your backswing.
Oh, I love it. Hey, awesome stuff today. Great stuff. Cooper Manning joining the show was fantastic. And as always, you guys do a great job. So thanks as always for being a part of it. Let's do it again very soon.
Great. Fun to see Cooper and Archer. We're talking about all the problems with college athletics. That's a real bright point.
Yeah.
A lot of great student athletes out there with tremendous parents that are doing everything right. So we can't let the negatives carry the day more than talking about the positives as well.
Beautiful.
All right. Thanks for joining us as always. For Vince Young and Mack Brown, I'm Bob Ballou. We always appreciate you listening to the Stampede,
baby.
You know it, a podcast on the Texas Longhorns. We'll see you soon.